Welcome to episode 6 of Dissent into the Wormhole, where we discuss everything from ancient civilizations to modern day social issues and everything in between. I'm Les.
And I'm Stevie J, and today's episode, we're going to be taking a deep dive into the topic of perceptions of perfection. So grab your coffee, set that cruise control, and let's get into it. Wow, this one I feel is going to be interesting because there's so many perceptions out there about what is perfection. How are you today?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
So good, so good. It's going to be a great conversation as always, and yeah, I'm excited about this one. So, what is perfection?
Excellent question.
Well, I feel like perception and perfection go very well together because it's sort of a subjective thing, isn't it?
It absolutely is, because what's perfect for me is not necessarily perfect for you, and certainly won't be perfect for the person down the street. And it's all about what you feel is, and so there's no right answer because
Right.
everybody's right.
That's right, I suppose. But what I find interesting is, about that idea of perfection. People have this ideal of what perfection is, and tied into a lot of our other conversations. I feel like school, parents, all of these societal influences develop what people feel is perfection. And, you know, part of that perfection is putting that onto other people as well. Like, and we use that word a lot, or I mean, a lot of people do. I'm looking for the perfect job, the perfect this, the perfect car, the perfect house, the perfect husband or wife,
Yeah.
the perfect relationship. And so, what is that perception though? And what I'm really curious about that influence that we try to put, or people try to put onto somebody else. Like, this
Ooh.
is my idea of perfection. Why aren't you that? That's the question I feel happens a lot.
Exactly. Exactly.
'Cause-
What a lot of people do, and you know, chime in whenever whenever you want, is that they have this idea of perfection because it's what society has told them is what you need to do. So like, okay,
Mm,
I need to dress perfectly. My hair has to be perfect. My face, my husband, my kids, my house, my car, my lawn, my blah 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 blah.
yeah,
Meanwhile, they're so focused on that stuff that they're not actually focused on, am I happy? And is my spouse happy? Are my kids happy? They're not focused on that, and nor are they caring because they're so worried about what the neighbors think, about what
mm,
their friends down the
yes,
street think. They're so concerned about that that there's it's a broken system. It is the
yeah,
furthest thing from perfect, but as long as it looks okay, as long as it looks okay, because they're
it's such a
afraid
good
to
point.
admit that they're flawed human beings.
Yep, that's such a good point because when the focus is so much on keeping up with the Joneses, or whatever the neighbor's name is, keeping
Mhm.
up with the Joneses, it's the focus and the attention is off where it should be, which
Right.
is the person that you love, or the person that you're with. Like, that's where the focus should be, and on their happiness and yours, if that
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, but that power of perception and what people think is perfect is very, very skewed in my view. Because yes, um, and I've experienced some of that, and being told, like that whole, "Are you wearing that? Are you really going to wear that?"
Mhm.
And while of course, going down the street with just your underwear on, probably not the best idea.
No.
But if it's just that you're wearing, a pair of pants or a shirt that doesn't suit that person's ideal or idea of perfection, it it's like, well, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
Why am I being made to feel guilty
Mhm.
because I don't want to wear what you want me
Right.
to wear, like what you want to see me in? And the reason for you wanting that is not because you actually care, because it actually impacts you in any real way.
Right.
It's simply because you don't want your friends, or you don't want the neighbor, or you don't want somebody else to ridicule you because of what I'm wearing.
Right. Because that makes perfect sense. The Bob down the street is gonna say, "Hey, you let him leave the house like that?
Exactly.
It's like, well,
Exactly.
mind your own business, look in a mirror, mind your own business. And yes, I did. So there's that.
Well, exactly. That's it. It's Bob, or on the female sense, it could be Betty.
Yeah.
Is
There's always a
saying, "Oh,
Betty.
you let them wear that." Well, and that's just it. Like, what impact does it have? And it just shows the materialistic view everybody has of the world as well. That
Yeah.
that's important,
Yeah.
doesn't it? What happened to the content of character? What happened to
Yeah.
judging people on who they are and how they behave? I
Mhm.
feel like that's gone completely by the wayside.
Well, and that's just it because you could have Brad Pitt circa 2000 husband and he could be
Hmm.
dressed to the nines every single time, but he could
Hmm.
also be a class A dick. So,
Yes.
like, I wouldn't be proud of that if my husband was a, well, I wasn't proud of that because he was a class A dick. But
Hmm.
like, we're missing like, and that's another thing too, is like we want the perfection of visually the perfect spouse. You
Hmm.
know, do they look like are they a model? Are they, you know, what other people would envy that I have this, but
Hmm.
do they really treat me the way I deserve? They're
Mm.
missing that point because they're shopping for things. And when I say shopping, they're shopping for humans as well. Because technically we do shop for humans. Like let's
Yeah.
not sugarcoat it. When we're shopping for the things, we're shopping for we I would say there's a lot of times that that thought will come in, like, oh, I wonder if so and so will like this. I wonder if my parents will like this. I wonder if my friends will like
Hmm.
this. It, and then we forget that it doesn't matter what they think. It doesn't matter. Do I like it? Do
Yeah.
I? Because what you're asking is, I don't matter here. I'm the one purchasing this thing. I'm the one
Hmm.
acquiring it. They have no invested interest in this.
Yeah.
Why do I care? Why do I care? But we do.
Yes.
We do it.
But the reason I feel that we do care about that, and you're so right, because it doesn't, they don't have a vested interest in my clothes. Like, they're not hopping in my pants with me. At least, at least, except on every other Wednesday.
I was gonna say that's not what I know.
but but it's so true, because how do I feel? Like, how do I feel wearing what I'm wearing, or looking how I look, or
Mhm.
that's what really matters. But we do it so often, and we go, I wonder what person X will think of what
Yeah,
I'm wearing. And
yeah,
especially when that's reinforced through guilt and shame and
yeah,
all of those other emotions, because I've definitely felt that. Like, you know, being told you look like a hobo, like, why would you go out looking like that? And I mean, come on, like, okay, sometimes I may not dress up, but I'm talking about, to give people context who are watching this. Like, so what my favorite attire is a pair of comfy tracksuit pants and a t-shirt, much like this one, and that's it. Or if it's summertime, ooh, love a tank and shorts,
yeah,
tank top and shorts, and that's my preferred attire to go out in. And look, that doesn't mean that if I'm going to a cocktail ball, I'm not going to wear the same thing. I'll
right.
obviously dress appropriately, but the thing is, to be made to feel guilty and to feel ashamed of what you're wearing,
Mhm.
the next time you go to get dressed, what thought pops into your head? You go, and this is what I would do. I would go, oh shit, is she going to like this? Am I going to get in
Yeah,
trouble
right.
for what I'm putting on right now?
Yeah,
And it's so unhealthy. It's so
yeah,
unhealthy to have that feeling. And that doesn't just translate, and we're talking about clothes at the moment, but that doesn't translate just to what we're wearing and what we're putting on and how we look. It translates to our behavior too. And it's like,
yeah,
then you have this second guessing every time you do something. It's like, should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? Is this the right thing to be doing? Am I going to
yeah,
be getting in trouble
mhm,
for doing this thing or not doing this thing?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And well, I have the same thought process when it comes to clothes. I want to be the comfier the better for me. I don't
Mhm.
think straight when I'm not comfortable.
Yeah.
So like having to get dressed up in like a power suit every day was torture for me because I was so uncomfortable and I was so focused on not being comfortable all day that I really couldn't get like actual, I couldn't really get into my work. The only time I could
Mhm.
really get into it was when I got home, put my comfies on and dig into it.
Mm. Yeah.
So and that was my dad used to always say, what if I was ever out and about with jogging pants on? Have you lost the will to live? What happened? Is it going to be socks with sandals next? What happened? It's like, so
And
every
please,
time
if
I
it's
leave the house in my trackies, that's the thought that goes through my head.
yes, yes,
That's the
but
thought.
and the key there is that's not your thought.
Nope.
That's somebody else's thought
Yep.
that they've imprinted in your head
Yep.
because you think about that now every time, but it's
Yep.
not your thought. It's
Nope.
dad.
Yep.
And and for me, it was her. Like I
Yeah.
had that thought every time. It was like, is this gonna, you know? And there's this little voice. You really wearing that? Like, yeah, is that what you're going out in? You know?
Yeah.
Or like, what
Yeah.
have you done today? You haven't done enough. You haven't done anything today.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like,
Yeah.
I, I totally get it. You've got that dad voice or whoever's voice it is
Yeah.
telling you you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be wearing that, you shouldn't be looking like that.
Yeah.
And what a thing to say as well. Like, if you lost the will to live, like,
Yeah.
we can have a giggle about it, but
Yeah. Of course.
it
It's funny.
but it does but it does set people up to fail, especially people who might be a little insecure. And I was, to be honest, like, I was quite insecure in myself. And through, that was like 15 years of second guessing myself.
Yeah.
And so I was in this completely insecure place of wanting to and feeling like I needed to check in with somebody before I did anything.
Yeah.
And it's, you just kind of lose your own sense of self.
You really do, because that was my marriage is what like that was my marriage too. Like I like every
Mm.
move. I was always afraid of just doing something wrong because I was always in trouble for something. Always in trouble for
Yeah.
something. It sounds like I was like married when I was 5 because like my inner 5-year-old was
Yeah.
always in trouble. Like she was always afraid of being in trouble for something because she technically always was. And
Yeah.
I remember when I moved, I had an entire closet after my divorce, that entire closet of clothes that he said didn't look right, didn't didn't like they just weren't right. So I put
Mm.
them in the closet. I'm like, well, I'll donate them one day because obviously I can't wear them because there's always a comment and I'm sick of the comments.
Yeah.
And when I pulled them out, I was looking at them, I was like, try them on. The problem was, and I'm not tooting my own, well, yeah, I'm gonna toot my own horn. I looked really good. And
Uh,
there lies the problem when
you
yeah,
didn't want other people saying you look good.
which is really odd because he was really proud when other people mentioned what I looked like. That was the only time he was actually proud of me.
But was that pride when you were with him when that happened?
Yes,
He probably didn't want you, I'm just guessing, looking like that when he wasn't around.
but true because it was all work clothes.
Ooh, yeah. Okay. Well, that makes sense. And the other thing that makes sense is what you said earlier, that, yeah, he does sound like a class A dick as well. So,
Hmm.
you know, I mean, but it's what you say is so true that you build up and you have all these things. Like, you had a closet full of clothes. Um, and, for me, I had, it was just basically anything. And I give the example, I think I mentioned this to you the other day. Um, I could be sitting on the couch, right? And I don't want to give the wrong idea here to people that I don't do anything. I just lounge around in the tracky pants all day. But like, traditionally, I have been a very hard worker just throughout life and
Yeah.
everything like that. But this is just an example. So I could be sitting on the couch. It could be 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, sitting on the couch watching TV, and like, my ex would be out. She'd be out doing something, whatever it was, probably having dinner with someone, whatever. And as soon as I heard the car roll into the driveway, I would jump up off the couch and I'd be like, all right, how do I make myself look busy? How do I make myself look like I'm doing something productive?
Hmm.
Because the comment that I would often get is this all you've done? You've just been sitting around this whole time,
Yeah.
And so every time that she would roll in the driveway, I'd jump up and be like, I need to be doing something. Like I'll
Yeah.
grab a dish that doesn't need to be washed and start washing it, or like
Yeah.
start
Yeah.
the blankets on the couch, or whatever it is.
Mhm.
Um, and it's so looking back on that, it's so ridiculous, and it's such a toxic thing to be in, because
Yeah.
why should I feel guilty about sitting on the couch when
Absolutely.
probably during the day I've done a whole lot of
Exactly.
productive things? So,
And let's be honest, if you wanted to take a day and do nothing, uh, and
right.
like there is absolutely nothing wrong with it. And actually, it is encouraged because we weren't built to keep going 24/7.
Yes,
It's
that's so
called
true.
me time for a reason. And if I want to do nothing with my me time, bitch, please, I'm doing nothing. Like, I mean, nothing. And it's going to feel fantastic, especially in the hemisphere of law of attraction, because if you keep going, the universe has no time to say, okay, like, where are we at and what do we need to move around? You need to take
Mhm,
that break and you need to let things just kind of unfold. You need time to think. You need time to whatever. And if you're constantly striving for the other person's idea of perfection, oh,
mhm.
well, you're just going to burn out and you're just going to get tired. And the next thing you
Yeah.
know,
Well, exactly, and you're gonna self sabotage anyway. I feel, because
yeah.
what would happen to me is, and I feel like it's not just me. Like I feel like there's more people out there like this,
Oh,
that
yeah.
in trying to do that thing, to reach that level of perfection or those expectations of that person
Mhm.
along the way, because that's not what you're not behaving in a way that is truly you, and that you feel is right.
Mhm.
You're trying to uh, think through and trying to uh, figure out and get ahead of what their expectation is.
Yes.
And I also feel like their expectations of perfection change often.
Oh,
So
yes.
you try and do something, you think, okay, well, last time I got in trouble for this. So I'm going to do this time, and that will be meeting the expectation of perfection.
Mhm.
Yet somehow that was wrong too, and three
Mhm.
other things that you did to try and achieve that specific level of perfection for whatever that thing was, you've failed in three other ways, according to them.
Right.
According to them. And so now what you find yourself is like, well, holy hell, what do I need to do? Like, how do I meet all of these expectations? How do
Yeah.
I reach this level of perfection? And it's not viable. So it's just not attainable, because if the other person doesn't see you as perfect just the way you are, then there's no hope. Like
Right.
there is no hope. And when I say the word perfect, I should be clear. And perfect to me is not um, that every single aspect of this person is what society would say is perfect,
That's right.
and what other people would say is perfect. What I'm
Mhm.
talking about is perfect for me,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
we all as human beings have little idiosyncrasies and little things that are not perfect, like but
And that's what makes it so great is that everyone
yes,
is different. And if we're constantly trying to hang out with the like keep up with the Joneses, well, we're like we can't change our DNA. Can't
yeah.
do it.
And I just had a thought then, like when you said that, keeping up with the Joneses shouldn't be the goal. It
Mm,
should be being happy for the Joneses, but being ourselves.
yeah.
Like
It's a really that was really good. I like that.
and 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 let's change our perception of this to not keep up with the Joneses. Let's be the Joneses
Mhm.
by whatever name we want to be.
Yeah.
Maybe not the Joneses.
I don't know who that guy is.
Maybe, yeah, maybe it's the Smiths. I don't know, but but we can be that ourselves, and whether that's a group thing or it's individuals, we should just be ourselves, and
Yeah.
that's one of the hardest things to do, though. I feel, is to feel happy, feel comfortable in ourselves, and not let that public perception or the perception of others or the expectations of others drive our behavior.
Well, yeah, and it's not just the people closest to it. Like it's not just our spouses and our parents and our closest friends and it is like literally people on the internet. It is keyboard
Hmm.
warriors saying like telling us we're wrong. Like think about how many times we're told we're wrong on a daily
Hmm.
basis about whatever. And it could be about nothing. Nothing
Yeah.
nothing it does not matter. and so you start to question, should I even post anymore? Like, should I keep going? Like, you just really start to question like your own behavior based on a stranger that does not
Yeah.
matter. Let me rephrase that. They matter in the sense that they matter, but
Yeah,
in
yeah.
my life, their comment and their thoughts of me don't matter.
Yeah. That's such a good point. I'm glad you brought that up because in the wider community, the wider public, if people out there think about their daily interactions with
Mhm,
other people, with other human beings, how
mhm.
many interactions do they have, whether it's online with keyboard people, or it's, just down the street, whatever. And how many times do they people have that thought process of, I wonder what that person over there thinks of
Yep.
me? Like, did they look at me funny? Am I wearing something wrong? Is my hair like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And so you're so right though when you say it doesn't matter because you leave that shop, you leave that place, you leave the computer,
Yeah.
and whatever that person said has no impact on you anymore,
Yeah.
unless we let it.
Yes. If
Unless
I
we
take
let
it
it,
with me, that's on
yeah.
me. If I take it with me, it's on me.
And the other day we talked about the voice inside our head, the
Yeah.
roommate, we call it. So we named them Nick and Nancy for us. So if you let Nick and Nancy swirl around in your head and keep telling you, oh, that person looked at you funny. Oh, I don't think you were wearing what you should have been wearing today, or I
Yeah.
don't think you did your hair how it should have been done.
Yeah.
Then we let Nick and Nancy swirl around, and it becomes a thing for us. It becomes a focus when it really shouldn't,
Yeah.
because it doesn't matter what Nick and Nancy think. It doesn't matter what Susie and Bob think down the road.
Mm-mm.
It absolutely has no real world physical impact on us.
Yep.
But we let it. We let
Yes.
it all the time.
Yep. Oh, yeah. We're just striving for other people's approval for some reason. And the thing is, like, I know damn well I don't need anyone's approval because I have my own approval.
Yeah.
I think I like myself. I like
Yeah.
hanging out with myself. And if no one else wants to hang out with me, that's cool. I can hang out with myself all I want.
Hmm.
So, but to still have that in the back of my head, like, I got to remind myself, like, look, like, what do you don't need their approval. You don't need anything from these people. But
Yeah.
yet it echoes sometimes. And if it's really, really harsh, that's when it really eats away at me, when it's really harsh. And it's so unnecessarily harsh. It's like someone shit in their cornflakes that day and they decided to take it out on the internet. And I was just in the line of fire.
Sorry, you had me at shit in the cornflakes.
Well, I could have said they ambered the beds.
Oh, far up. Sorry. Great point. Like, fantastic point. But
Yeah.
I'm stuck on the cornflakes. So, thank you, by the way.
You're welcome.
Um, yeah, I feel like you're absolutely right. You're spot on, and we do need to aim more and focus more on ourselves and
Mhm.
less about worrying what other people think. Now, it's
Yeah.
not easy. I'm not saying it's an easy thing. I was in this cycle for 15 years or more
Yeah.
of just feeling all the time like this next thing I'm doing is not right. Like, I could just feeling that anxiety all the time. So it's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy, but damn, it's liberating when you can get out of that and finally feel like you are yourself and that you're okay with being yourself.
Mhm.
And, yeah, it's great. Like, um, it's great that we feel good in ourselves, but I feel like, and like you, I'm happy. I could be with myself, and I'm quite happy to keep myself company.
Mhm.
But the thing is as well, people are so intent on striving for that perfect person, finding
Mm.
that perfect relationship, and ticking all those boxes along the way. And you've said this before, like, instead of having the box of physical traits,
Right.
money, job, like all popularity, all of that stuff, switch that around. And I love that you say this. Focus on how you want to feel.
Yeah.
Like, how do you want to feel when you're around another person?
Mhm.
And if you do that, then you're going to be focusing and open to the right thing.
Yeah.
And to be honest, like, there is no perfection.
Mm-mm.
I'm just going to say it. There is no perfection. There's no such
No.
thing as perfection in this world. And part of the reason for that is because of perception, and
Yeah.
perception is subjective, like we said. So, um, striving for something that doesn't exist, well, it's kind of crazy, to be honest. Like
Yeah.
that we do that, but we spin the wheels every day, like a little mouse on
Yeah.
a wheel in a cage, spinning around every day, trying to achieve that.
Yeah.
Um, but breaking free from that is so much more enjoyable
Yeah.
than you could ever imagine, satisfying that person's perceptions along the way, just little bits here and there
Yeah.
of satisfaction. Because in terms of relationships, we both talked a little bit about ours, and how we didn't feel good, that's for
Mm.
sure.
Mhm.
But when you do find that person that you're compatible with, it all of that disappears and
Yeah.
nothing matters.
Yeah.
And all you get is, and I want to say, pure joy.
Mhm.
That's it. Pure joy. And so that's really what we should be aiming for, that feeling. Like, how do I get that feeling? Not how do I get the trifecta of sixes? How do I get the hot chick? All that
Yeah.
materialistic stuff. We should be
Yeah.
focusing on how do I want to feel?
Yeah. Well, when you say that, I'm reminded of my friend, and for whatever reason, he always ends up with the hot girl. But he was dating this girl, and she ended up being, um, we can't label anyone, but she had traits that were, toxic and abusive and
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And he was just so in love, so in love. And he was in love with her face and her body. And when he
Mm-hmm.
broke up with her, because finally, when he was literally crying in the corner,
Right.
like she was banging on his door because he tried to break up with her. She's banging on the door. She's like, "I'm gonna fucking kill you," and so he's crying in the
All
corner. Like
right.
he finally broke. He finally had
Mm-hmm.
that moment of breaking, and so he told his friends, he's like, "Listen, like I broke up with her," and they're like, "Dude, she was a smoke show. What are you doing? You're stupid. You're stupid. She was perfect. Blah blah blah." He's like, "Perfect? She tried to kill me. What do you
Yeah.
mean? She's perfect." But he said if he had not had that breaking point, he would have said, "You know what, boys, you're right," and he would have called her up
Yep.
because to their eyes, she was perfect.
That's it. Oh,
Oh,
such a good example. Oof. And that's another place where this peer pressure comes from, as well as
yeah.
friends, people that you're acquainted with, even just. What's so funny about that is they don't know. They
Mm-mm.
don't actually know the person.
No.
It's so true. It's so true. It's like, uh, how on earth could you do this? Like, sometimes it even goes as far as, like, you get called the asshole. It's
Yeah.
like, how could you be such an asshole to end this thing
Yeah.
when look what you've got? It's like, yeah, but you only see 1/10, 1/50th
Yeah.
of what is actual reality.
Yeah.
You see the exterior, you see the projection of what this person wants you to see. You don't
Exactly.
see the actual reality of who they are.
Yeah.
And I do, and I'm fucking out of there. Like,
Yeah.
I can't deal with that anymore.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
so true. It is so true. And I think people really need to also, those people, those friends who would be saying, "What are you doing, man? She's so fucking hot. Like, why are you breaking up with her?"
Yeah.
Those people need to take a little step back and think about why they're asking that question
Yeah.
and why they're actually saying that. Because, I had quite a few people, when I split, ask me, "Well, why? Like, what's going on? How could this happen?" Da, 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 all those same things.
Yeah.
And it was almost like, well, how about just asking me if I'm okay? Like, why don't
That's
you just
right.
ask how I'm doing? Because and what it came across was, and this is more of a feeling that I got, because I don't know if this is it, but the feeling I got was that if they saw this long term relationship break up,
Mhm.
it made them reflect on their own. And
Mm.
so they were like, they were scared, like,
Yep.
well, shit, if that can happen to such a long term relationship, maybe that can happen to mine as well.
Yep.
And so I'd love to make myself feel better right now by figuring out and ridiculing you for, or making you feel guilty for what you've done,
Yeah.
because I'm scared.
Yeah.
I'm scared for my own relationship and my own thoughts, probably, as well.
Exactly. And a lot of people too, because as soon as you said that, that's the first thing that went through my mind. I'm like, because they're not thinking about you, they're thinking about themselves and their own relationship, and they're looking for clues. So now they're asking you, well, Why? So you can list off the reasons and they can go back to their own relationship and say, okay, are we good? Like, am I seeing any of this in my relationship? That's exactly what it is. Because
Yep.
if the first question is, oh my goodness, Steve, like, are you okay? If that's not the first question, it's all about them. It is 100% about them. If
Yep.
if they're not asking like, how are you? Like,
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
yeah,
And the thing is, the answers that I gave them, because I mean, like, not everyone that I caught up to is like a great friend.
right,
But they're people I'm friendly with,
right.
asking these questions. So I'm not going to give them every bit of
Oh
detail
no,
about, what, why, who, how, all that
yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
because they just don't need to know that. But absolutely, the impression is that they want to know, so they could check that list off and be like, all right, well, am I doing this? Am I doing that? Is everything okay in my relationship?
yeah,
But what I
yes.
also, and the flip side of that too is when something like that happens and they see something like that happen, they're scared of their own thoughts
Hmm.
about and their own feelings, because it's like, because it wakes something up in them like, well, how do I feel in my relationship?
Hmm.
Like, I've been in it for 15, 20 years, but does that make it right? Does that make it okay? Am I
Hmm.
actually happy? Because just because you have the house, just because you got the kids, just because you've got what the public perception, what the Joneses would say is all the good stuff to have,
Yeah,
doesn't make it good stuff. It
no,
doesn't mean it's the right thing for you, and it doesn't mean
yeah,
it's the right thing for everybody else as well.
yeah.
Because I want to ask you this, right?
Mm,
I want to ask you this. So in marriages, let's say, because that's what it's been for us, but like in relationships, why on earth do these people who are supposed to love us
mm.
treat us with such disrespect?
I have no idea. I have no idea, but I see it all the time. And I see it to the point where as soon as people start, like they make it official, that's when it starts.
Hmm.
It's almost like it's like an open permission to treat me. I just said treat to treat people horribly,
Yeah.
and a lot of people do it. It's like the control starts to sneak in, and I honestly think it's because they're so afraid of losing it
Hmm.
that maybe self-sabotage comes in. Like they're going to sabotage it. And like if I came into a relationship and I start berating the guy every chance I got, well, him staying is just ridiculous, because why would he stay around that? But why
Right.
am I doing it? Like, do I really want to be in this relationship? Do they really want to
Yes.
be there? I look at all these relationships like, why are you together? You hate each other. Why are you together?
Yes.
Which is something I asked my ex. I'm like, you hate me. Why do you come home every night?
Hmm.
Why do you do it? You absolutely hate me.
Yep.
And I got a little bit of a cheeky grin and didn't get an answer. But I see it a lot now that I recognize it as a
Hmm.
huge, huge problem, because your relationship is supposed to be the place of peace and a piece
Yes.
of joy and a place of just contentment. It should
Well,
never be a place of I'm going to get in trouble. They're not going to
yeah,
like this. I'm going to get yelled at.
it's the metaphorical place of putting the trackies on, right? Like
Yes. Yes.
your relationship should be tracky town. That's where you
Yes,
put
it
your tracksuit
should.
pants on.
Yes, it should.
Or take them off, either way. But,
Whatever works.
but what's so funny about that? And I couldn't agree more. Like when you said, um, this person doesn't even like me. What are
Yeah.
they even doing with me? It's so true, because the thing is, right, and similar to you, like when I left my relationship, it was like the worst thing in the world. Like I was setting a nuke off in the middle of the city.
Right.
I was ending the world. But I'm like, but hang on a minute. You've done nothing but ridicule me, call me this, call me stupid, do all these things, make me
Mhm.
feel ashamed, make me feel guilty, tell me that I'm not meeting your expectations for the entire relationship.
Yeah.
Yet you're now upset that I'm leaving,
Right. It doesn't make
but
sense.
you didn't even like me. So
Yeah.
aren't you happy? Like,
Yeah.
aren't you happy that you don't have to constantly tell me to be better and do more and be a better person? Because I'm going, so you don't have to worry
Yeah.
about it anymore.
Yeah. But do you wonder if those if those kind of people just enjoy being in the driver's seat of the relationship, and they need that
Mm,
conflict, because we don't like, I know how mine grew up and it actually makes sense. Like if I knew
mm,
then what I know now, it would have, like, there were red flags galore when it came to his actual, like,
mhm.
his parents and stuff. But
Yeah.
when there's so much conflict and so much everything within the family unit, especially growing up, that's all they know. So they see that relationships aren't supposed to, like, that's how they see love, but they saw hate, they saw
Yes.
resentment, they saw this, and they're like, well, what do you mean you're leaving? Like, I love you. And you're like, well, you don't. Like, this is very
Yeah.
clear that you don't. So the next person is, like, the next persons, like, are gonna have the same problem. Ooh, that was really loud. Sorry. The next people are
That's right.
gonna have the
Yeah, yeah,
same issue
yeah,
with them, of the constant whatever, because and that's their love language essentially,
yeah.
is to, because they don't know any different. And that's where my forgiveness came in, when I realized he didn't know any different,
Mhm.
and he couldn't, if he could do better, I'm sure he would, but he
Yeah.
can't, so he won't. And it's not my problem to fix. And it took a long time, but when I finally realized that, I there was a sadness. There was a sadness, like, that is so sad that this is how he's going to be for the rest of his life. Like, it wasn't
Mhm.
about me. None of it was about me, even though I
Yeah.
was the center of it. Had nothing to do with me. So once I realized that, there was a whole lot of healing that happened. But I shudder for the next people. I shudder
Yeah.
for them because they're in for a doozy of a ride.
Yeah. Good. Absolutely agree. And you know, I'm sorry that you went through that, but it's a learning experience, isn't it? And
Mhm.
everything that we come across in life is a growth opportunity in a way, like
Absolutely.
especially anything difficult.
Yeah.
But I wanted to also mention, like on your point there, that although I'm saying that these horrible things kind of happen and this horrible uh, a relationship was there, and it happened. I also want to take some ownership myself, because I feel like I was there. I am a grown ass man, so I could have left earlier. I could have stood up for myself more and things like that.
Mhm.
So I will take ownership of that. Like, same as you, like there was some red flags there and stuff like that. So
Yeah, that was on me.
I wasn't emotionally mature enough, or emotionally open enough and confident enough to do that. So I kind of let it happen, and I perpetuated it by apathy. I just
Yeah.
let it go on and on and on.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things that when I finally did realize, when I finally did recognize that, and recognize that, it's okay for me to be me.
Mhm.
And I just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, done.
Yeah.
Just
And
couldn't
a
do it
split
anymore.
second decision too, right? Like, it was like,
Yeah.
no,
Just
no more.
all of a sudden, and I used this in one of the other episodes, but my Matrix reference,
Yeah.
again, like the same thing with love, is something you just know, it balls to bones. You
Mhm.
can't explain it. Well, in this situation, having that realization that I couldn't be there anymore and I couldn't be a part of that anymore,
Mhm.
same thing. Just know it in an instant, balls to bones, that
Yeah.
it's not a place you could be in. So
Yeah.
I did want to take ownership of that, though, that I did have the ability to change things, that
Oh,
whole time.
absolutely. And the thing is, like, I look back and I'm like, wow, that's like, the thing is, what I will acknowledge is that I was in no position to make any kind of decisions about relationships, because I didn't love myself.
Hmm.
So I was in no position to be dating in the first place, never mind getting married. But
Mm,
I am so grateful that it happened. I am so
yeah.
grateful, because it brought me everything that I am now. It brought me to everywhere it brought me right to this second, and I am so grateful, because I shudder to, not only do I shudder for the next girl, I shudder for who I would have been if that didn't happen, or if I didn't,
Yeah.
if none of that ever happened, I don't know who I would be. And I don't like that thought,
Yeah.
because I actually do love myself now, and I do have all the things that I didn't have before. And I feel, and honestly, like, I've looked back and I'm like, I've gone back, I haven't, and I've energetically apologized to a lot of other people that I dated, because I shouldn't have been dating. at
Yeah.
all. And I was.
Mm.
And I don't know what I left behind
Yeah.
when I did that. So
Well,
I think a lot of it has to do too with like, are you, should you be dating? Should you be getting married? Should you be shopping for a partner when you should be shopping for self-love? Like
yes.
like per, instead of doing the outside perfection, like build the perfection within yourself. And
Yes.
building that perfection within yourself is just learning who you are. That's it.
That's it.
You don't
Yes.
need to
And
change anything. You just got to figure it out.
well, learning who you are and being okay with who you are as well
Yeah.
is so important. It's so important because,
Yeah.
and I talked about not trying to be the Joneses before, like be your own Joneses, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, if you figure out who you are,
Yeah.
just who you are at a very base level, a raw level, like who are you, then and then you become comfortable with who you are, and
Mhm.
you can change who you are, like it. And I'm talking about this from a very deep and central kind of place. You once you figure out who you are, then you can be whoever you want to be as well. And
Right.
I'm not talking about that from a I'm going to project this and I'm going to be fake about who I am. No, no, no. Like if you really truly want to be something, you can be that. Like
Mhm.
if you want to be positive, you can be positive about
Mhm.
everything.
Yeah.
If you want to do something, you can do that.
Yeah.
But it's so important to be happy about and
Mhm.
comfortable with who you are, what you want to do, who you want to be with, and who you want to surround yourself with. So in the comparison of the Joneses, like if we look over there at the Joneses and say, "Well, that's perfection," we really don't know what's going on behind those closed doors for the
No.
Joneses.
No.
So focus inside, focus on your sphere that you can control,
Yeah.
and be happy with yourself, and let the world see that.
Yeah.
Let the world see that who you are and who you surround yourself with, whether it's relationship, family, whatever it is, let the world see who you are and be so happy with that. And you will go to sleep so easily at the end of the day
Yeah.
because you're not sitting there spinning the wheels with Nick and Nancy going, "Oh, I should be doing this. I should be doing that. I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't
Yeah.
have done that."
I shouldn't
Because
have said that.
you'll behave exactly in line with who you are as a
Yeah.
person.
Yeah. And if you're honest with yourself every day and you don't do anything that goes against the grain, you have nothing, no one can ever make you feel guilty because damn it, don't there aren't they good at that? No one
Oh
can
yeah.
ever make you feel guilty because they didn't get what they wanted from you. It's like, well, no, I just didn't want to do it.
Hmm.
I didn't want to. And I'm sorry you feel that way. But the disappointment line for things that I didn't do for people because they wanted me to, it starts back there. And it's a long
Yep.
line. So it's gonna be a long wait before you can come to me. Like just you just shove that aside. You really can. And you can, it's amazing what you can do when you have that confidence in yourself of I'm just going to be me and I'm not going to worry about it. And
Mm.
I was just thinking about a few people that we've met along the way. Not going to name any names, but they are just so amazing. Like
Yeah.
we have come across some of the most amazing light beings in the world, and they don't
Hmm.
have a clue. They don't
Yeah.
have a clue. And it's like, I just want you to see how amazing you are. I want to
Right.
shake them. I want to shake them like a snow globe and have everything settle so they can see it. And
Yeah.
like, that's what I want for people. Like,
Hmm.
if we weren't so tied up with, you
Yeah.
know, all of the stuff and,
And it's
whatever.
interesting. It's such a good point. You're so right. We've met so many of those people, and you just because what you see in meeting those people is you see that second guessing themselves. You see
Yes.
them thinking, "Is this the right thing? Is that the right thing?" And you like you said, you just kind of want to, you just want to shake them and say, "Stop it! Like stop! You are amazing, just
Yeah.
the way you are. Like
Yeah.
don't second guess yourself."
Yeah.
Because from where I sit, you're bloody brilliant. You're
Yeah.
amazing. So don't second guess that. And
Yeah.
yeah, you just wish that they could see. You
Yeah.
wish that they could see. And it's a huge, huge thing to be able to see that for ourselves. And
Mhm.
I feel like what I don't know what your thoughts are, but for me, like when I started to become more confident, more happy with who I am and everything
Mhm.
like that, I was more open to seeing that in other people too. like seeing all
Mhm.
of those good things in other people
Mhm.
as well, and appreciating the good things that the good character traits, or the good people that are out there.
Yes. I did notice that as well. I did notice that. And I started to question, like, am I just attracting a different no, we will start attracting a different caliber of people. You'll
Hmm.
start attract people because like attracts like. So once you start that change, certain people will fall away. But you will attract other people. And I just thought like I couldn't pinpoint it, but then I realized I'm not judging them the way I was judging myself. Because when we
Hmm.
judge ourselves for not being perfect, for not living up to everyone else's standards, we start judging people like we start judging ourselves, and then we project that judgment onto other people. And
Yeah.
once you can drop that, and once you can
Oh,
just say, once you could just sit down in front of someone and say, "I love you," like let's have a conversation, and I just want to see everything you got, and obviously there's still dicks out there. You still run into them, and you're like, "I love you," but you're a dick. So, but
there's a bunch of Bezos out there just flying through the sky.
yep, they're having at it, having at it. But for the most part, that judgment falls away. And I noticed that I didn't dislike people as much as I thought I did.
Yes. Yeah. Appreciating individuals for who they are, and
Yeah.
you can also, like, we've come across so many awesome, amazing people, um and I feel like, being open to the universe, being comfortable with yourself, draws those people in, like you said, like attracts like. um but it also gives you that personal power to repel those dicks. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like those dickish people,
Yeah.
it gives you the power to repel them, because you're not, where before you may have had that, oh, even though they're a dick, I need to try and please them. I need to
Yes.
try and make them okay, and like calm the situation down and appease everything.
Yep.
But there's nothing more calm you can do, I feel, than not acknowledging something, or
Ex-
just not giving it any attention. So
Yeah.
when you have that realization, it gives you that personal power to be like, okay, you can be a dick over there. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I'm
then
gonna be
all
over
of these
here.
dicks can just, be doing their thing, and you can attract those people that are good and that you
Yeah.
do want to have around you. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, and it's you know, I was out in the car today and I was listening to Howard Stern, and the way he talks about his wife, mm, I said to myself, I actually said to myself, that is it. Like that is it. To me, it was perfection. To me,
Hmm. Hmm.
the way he talks about his wife, he loves her. He loves her so much, and he has no problem telling the world how much he loves his wife. He doesn't care. He just doesn't give a shit. And I just thought, like, that's it. Like, and it doesn't take much to impress the rest of the world. Like, you don't need, I don't care what Matthew McConaughey says. You do not need the Lincoln to impress anybody. You just need to be yourself and be honest and open and just be vulnerable at points. And that is what people, I feel deep down, that's what people
Hmm.
want. And that's what they
Well,
see as perfection.
that's such a good point, and it's so nice to hear that he loves his wife. That's
Oh,
great.
I love listening to him talk about his wife.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, and it's good. It's really nice to hear that too, because perfection, you know, it is a it is a deep down thing, and it is a very personal thing as
Mhm.
well. And I like that you mentioned vulnerability, because I
Yeah.
feel like something, and in that relationship sense, like he's talking about his wife and
Yeah.
everything like that. But when you can lay yourself bare, and I don't mean in a physical sense, I mean in an emotional sense. When you can lay yourself bare in front of somebody
Yeah.
and feel 100% okay and comfortable,
Hmm.
and they love and appreciate that about you, everything about you, when you are that completely open and vulnerable,
It's perfect.
then I feel like that's just the ultimate happiness. That's the
Yeah.
ultimate joy, because you're not putting on any facade. You're not putting on anything. There's nothing fake. It's all 100% real. And being comfortable in who you are, and having somebody love you for who you actually
Mhm.
are. Well, I
That's
don't.
perfection.
That's where it's at. That
Yeah.
is where it's at.
Yeah. That is actual
And
perfection.
yeah, I
And it's gonna
agree.
be different for every person. So
That's
what's good?
right.
So once again, so we circle right. So we're going to end right where we left up, right where we started.
Yeah.
Perfection is in the eye of the beholder, and we can never attain to someone else's idea of perfection. It's not attainable. If it's the house, someone is going to come along and slag your house. If it's your car, someone's going to say it's a shitty car. If whatever it may be, someone's going to have an opinion, and then it's going to have you second guessing. Well, did I make the right decision? Did I make the right purchase when I did this? Whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And you feel
Exactly.
inadequate. That's why 99% of the population is walking around feeling inadequate, because we're told we need all these things when meanwhile
Yes.
everything we need is inside us. We need to not
Hmm.
worry about what other people are thinking or doing for
Hmm.
that matter, because
Yeah.
everyone's DNA is different. Every single person, their DNA is different. And I keep thinking back to the Sapiens book when they said like a bee will never go on strike. Like,
Yeah.
it'll never go to Queen Bee and say we're going on strike, because it's not in their DNA. Their
Yeah.
DNA is to do bee things.
Yep.
Cats, cats don't go to school, to learn how to be good little kittens. It's in their DNA
Yeah.
to go be cats. And to be what's in our DNA is certainly not to listen to some guy in the TV or my neighbor down the street or my best friend or my spouse for that matter to tell me that I
Hmm.
am wrong.
Exactly.
That is not in my DNA.
So true. And I love that example in Sapiens as well about the bees
Oh, it's
and
so
like
good.
and all of the animals that it mentions in there. Like all of the things that it
Yeah.
mentions there are so true. And
Yeah.
the reason why so many of these perceptions of perfection exist is because, like religion and like so many other things that we're going to talk about, don't worry,
Mhm.
but like so many of those other things that it mentions in the book, it's all it is an ideal agreed upon by a mass group of people. And that's what it is. So instead of, like you said, focusing perfection on other people,
Yeah.
focus on yourself. Focus on feeling good and what perfection looks like for you personally,
Yeah.
as in for yourself. And not don't go looking for it, but just focus on yourself. Be so happy with yourself, and you will attract what you
Yes.
feel is perfection. You will
Absolutely.
attract it without even thinking about it, without your checklist of sixes. You you will be open to it, and it may not be tomorrow, it may not be next week, but I feel it will definitely happen.
Absolutely. Yes, it will. I think that was perfect, and I think we should end it there.
I think so too.
Yeah. Great conversation. Thank you.
So good. Thanks again. Absolutely awesome.
So, thanks everyone for joining us today. I hope you're having a great morning, afternoon, evening, no matter where you are in the world.
And we'll catch you all next time on Descent into the Wormhole.
Take care, guys.